All right, we're long tossing here on this 9th day of June. Steven Strom, Kyle Sielaff, Jeff Nelson. Very special guest here on the program. It is Dontrelle Willis, 2003 World Series champion, Rookie of the Year. The accolades go on and on. Dontrelle, first of all, congratulations. A bobblehead, I mean, that's got to be up there for one of the best accomplishments. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. First of all, honored to be here. The feeling is great, and Jeff knows this when he goes back to New York. You know, I mean, you take all that in, but it's very cool to get my second bobblehead, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes that have helped to accomplish that. So
by the way, Steven could not sleep last night because he was just waiting for this moment.
Yes, he was.
Actually, he hasn't slept all weekend when he found out, we're getting Dontrelle.
Well, Steven, we got to work on your heroes, man. I really appreciate that. We got to work on that list, but nevertheless.
He was like, I haven't. He puts toothpicks in his eyes. He's like going through cases of Red Bull.
Dontrelle, I had them like on like a baseball schedule. I said 11:30 long toss in. We'll get into the booth house at 11. You know, I want to get ready for this, and I was excited. I'm not going to front.
Honor to be here. Thank you, guys.
Let me ask you this. I'll start here, and then I'll let these guys take over. What do you remember when you were traded here from Chicago?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, I mean, the backdrop of the story, 3 of my roommates at the time got released, and I got traded on the same day. So
you guys all got called in.
Exactly. You know what I mean? There was no Joe Boo in our locker room at that time, Jeff, if you know what I mean. And so being traded as a young player, it's kind of whirlwind, if you will. And so I didn't know much about the Miami Marlins, but when I got to Cocoa Beach, one of the first people I met was Miguel Cabrera, and he couldn't stop laughing at me because he saw the way I pitched, and he just thought I was a mess then, which he was right. You know what I mean? But he was a transcending talent even as a 17, 16-year-old guy. But he was one of the first people I met and went to Kane County, and the rest was history.
D-Chain, who taught you how to hit?
My mother. My mother. She loves softball. Obviously, everybody knows my background being from right around the corner of Oakland, California, in the stadium. And so I was a field rat, always liked being around, the game of baseball. And so she used to catch with me and taught me how to hit. And she didn't hold back. None of my uncles held back. And so as a little boy, they would throw as hard as they could with a, Carney Lansford bat that I could barely lift up.
Yeah.
So I learned the cadence of just being able to hit the baseball, and I just love being on the
field. You grew up going to the Coliseum?
Absolutely.
Oh, you got to be sad, man, to see it go.
I'm past sad. I'm angry. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother 7.
He probably when he was little, he would come out when we played the Ace. Right?
I loved it. And booing him in the bullpen and stuff like that.
Oh, and they were the worst. The Oakland fans were the worst because they were mostly all disgruntled Raider fans.
Hostile,
oh my gosh!
So learning how to play in intensity. They were disgruntled at Little League field. So I learned that intensity very, very in an early age and what have you. So being around the stadium and being around great baseball, and the Giants were good back then too. So I wanted to throw like Dave Stewart and hit like Will Clark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's pretty good.
Was pitching your least favorite growing up because you hit so well?
No, I wanted to do it all.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to come out the field.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to come out the field. So I learned how to play first base. I caught a little bit.
So you were happy going from the White Sox to the Marlins. You had to hit.
Yeah. You know what? The bottom line is, whatever I can do to win a ball game. You know what I mean? And so, the fans remember me sliding head first. That was genuine, though. You as a teammate would want to kill me, but at the same time, it's like, this is how this guy learned how to play.
You didn't know how to play other way.
I didn't know how to play any other way.
And you can't go the other way.
Trying to hit triples, that was real. I was just trying to do whatever it took for us ultimately to shake hands. And so, learning the history about the Marlins and in the community of Miami, when we started to turn it around, it meant a lot to not only me, but the locker room. And seeing people come back and seeing people believe in us. And so whatever it took, and obviously Juan Pierre is one of my best friends, and he's a hard-nosed guy. He's a sweetheart, but he's a hard-nosed guy. Doesn't give away bats, doesn't give away plays. So I grew up in that toolage of this, whatever it took to win a ball game on that day, you have to do.
How'd you come up with the leg kick?
Well, I mean, I have no torso. You know what I mean? So my pants are double and my suit jackets are half. You know what I mean? So, and to be honest with you, Dennis Eckersley, he was very deceptive.
That's why I wore number 43, because I would go behind the Oakland old stadium because they didn't have the stands there, and I would sit there and watch him when he pitched. And I emulated him in the minor leagues, and that's how I came through.
And so him, but then also, God rest his soul, Vida Blue. I knew his son. And so, seeing and listening to stories about Vida and finally seeing video of him, you combine that and you start to learn cadence and timing of a throw and feeling behind the baseball. And then all of a sudden, I just was doing that my whole life. And so it caused deception, and it gave myself a little bit extra life on the baseball.
Yeah.
I could listen to you guys talk all day. I will ask you.
I watch the show. I live in Arizona.
What do you remember about Nelly?
Yeah.
Huh? What do you remember
Tell
about
us to the
Nelly?
people
Did you
that are
guys ever face each other?
We never faced
No, I
each
never
other.
faced
in the eighth inning, and you were relieving an interleague player or something?
He was a high leverage guy. He was a high leverage guy, threw across his body. The slider was unhittable, especially when he was able to land that fastball in and half to the right-handed batter. They had no chance. Because you can't cover both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had enough velocity. You had enough. I mean, if they talked about spin rate back then, he'd be one of the highest guys to be able to manipulate the baseball like that. And so he was a dog, man, and you knew it was game over. And obviously, he's the bridge guy to one of the best to ever do it. And so he understood the responsibility and really the responsibility to play in a big stage in New York.
Nelly despises the sweeper, but I'm going to start saying you threw a beautiful sweeper.
Well, everyone wants
Your
to sound
spin rate
smarter.
was-
Everyone wants to sound smarter.
They want to rename it.
Yeah, they want to rename it. You know what I mean? It's just good life and movement, and he had all of
And
that.
the National League mounds back then, when we first started interleague play, especially Miami at the outside, Joe Robbie or pro player, that thing was a mountain.
Yes.
The slope. If you had to take short strides when you first got out there, because if you took a long stride, you would fall. It was so high. It was great because
And
you
you
were
had to force
right on
yourself
top
to
of the
get
hitter.
on top of the baseball
Yeah.
because you know what I mean. You would warm up in the bullpen, and all of a sudden your throws would be a little bit different. You're like, why am I missing up? So I agree with them. Us being bigger guys, you have to shorten your stride so you can get on top of the baseball downhill.
Do you find yourself, as you get older now, reminiscing more about when you came up? I mean, it's nostalgic seeing you in this 2003 World Series jersey, but the old football stadium, it was dingy. It was getting old. Now it's beautiful up there. But how often, as you get older, do you find yourself hearkening back to those younger days?
I'm 42 years old now, and I just met Zach Neto for the first time, a Miami kid. He said,
Hell of a shortstop.
Joe Robbie. I said, oh, you really go to the stadium.
Yeah.
You hear certain names. You're like, oh, you really were a fan. Nick Castellanos, he begged me for a Black Willis jersey.
Really?
There's certain players that came from
Jesus
down there.
Luzardo?
Oh, and listen, I tell everybody the same line. You got to work on your heroes. But you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate the love, but they all have this passion when they see me. Nestor Cortez, I just saw him in New York a couple days ago.
Oh.
Big Dontrelle Willis fan. And I'm a big fan of those guys too, you know what I mean? And so, when I come across players like that and they talk about watching me play and the impact of not only just, their family, but just the community, it means the world to me. And it's something that's transcends money.
You showed the little kid in the big leagues. You were a little. You acted the way you acted. You just loved the game so well, and people resonated with you so easily because how you went out on the field every day. It's like you grew up a little kid watching your hero, whoever it was with the A's or the Giants, and you translated that at the big league level. You're like, hey, this is a game, and I'm going to have fun at doing it. And you did both. You did it successfully, and also you had a great time doing it. And it showed. And I think everybody loved watching you.
Yeah.
That's why one of the things I really don't like. I'm a little bit mixed about the game today, but I do like the emotion that the guys show.
Yes, I talk about that all the time, and to get to our position that we've gotten to, you have to have love and passion for the game. You can't fake that. It's too grueling. It's too long. You just can't fake it. And so you look at some of these championship rosters. Everybody has a fun-loving guy.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're not a dog out there. They don't want to take your head off, but they just have a different mindset of the game and letting it come. And to be honest with you, when I started playing bad, I started trying hard and I cared too much.
Really?
And so I love playing golf because it teaches you that. You know what I mean? If your mindset is, hey, don't hit that ball in the water, that ball's going in the water.
What's your handicap, do you
I'm a
think?
5 handicap now.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm a 5 handicap now. I love the game of golf because it teaches you a lot of that mental.
Well, did you miss the competition? When I retired, I missed the competition. I missed the guys, but you can't replace the competition on the field.
No,
you got to find something.
And the competition within yourself. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so I live in Scottsdale, Arizona right now. And so, a lot of baseball players are competing and just having that joy to go out there and have fun. But again,
You're not playing golf now. My second daughter lives out there. She says 110.
I'm out there at 6 a.m. I'm tea time at 6 a.m., done at 9.
Out in LA?
Little brunch out there in Scottsdale, Arizona. LA's a little bit more easier to get out there earlier, but I love the game of golf and love seeing guys like Jeff and everybody else and just seeing them upright and doing well.
But you know why I think people resonated so much with you, Dontrelle, when you were growing up is because every little kid dreamed of doing what you did. Everybody wanted to pitch, so it was fun as hell to do that. And then everybody wanted to hit homers. And here this dude coming up in the early 2000s, pitching
Doing
extremely
both,
well, and also hitting homers in the big leagues.
But again,
Who'd you hit your first homer off of? I know you remember.
And what was your favorite homer?
Yeah.
And the only reason why I remember this is because he's a friend of mine.
'Cause it's awesome?
He's a friend of mine, and he won't let it go. Danny Graves is the best.
guy.
Danny Graves. And they started, it was the year that they starting him, instead of being a closer.
Was he in Cincinnati
He
then?
was in Cincinnati,
Okay.
and he threw a 91-mile-an-hour fastball up, and I just ran into it, you know what I mean? And so he always brings it up, but a really good dude. But again, like I said earlier, is this about being impactful? And a lot of fans remember those moments is because really, there's a Dontrelle in every neighborhood. There's some goofy guy that just loves to play baseball, loves to play basketball, loves to play football. He's not bothering anybody, and his joy is transcending. And so I think that's why fans kind of resonate with me with that.
How's the broadcasting going? Do you have any interest in getting back into the game at all? I'm sure you get asked that.
I have so many jobs, and I'm blessed to work with great people, and I'm sure Jeff can contest to this.
We force him in here.
No, but he's awesome.
Hey, it's not like I want to be here.
He says he's doing his community service.
Exactly. That's one way to put it.
Yeah. I get it. You got to give back. But I work with Joe Davis, Kevin Burkhardt, Wayne Randazzo. Chris Myers. I wrote Miguel Cabrera's coattail. I made a good living. I'm gonna continue to write people's good coattail. And a lot like baseball. You learn the nuances of it. You challenge yourself. You push yourself. You study and prep for the game, and you have a respect for it, and it shows. And so I've been loving the TV gig. I think I was retired and jobless for like 10 days, which was not good for Dontrelle to be jobless or not. So I thank God for Fox and Apple and the Dodgers. And I showed up in Miami with my Dodgers jump fit, and everybody kind of gave me mess about it in Miami at the airport, so I have to go down there to the home side and steal some stuff out of there. But I'm very blessed to work with talented people, and the adrenaline with the red light comes on is the same as when
cool,
they
right?
play ball. I love it.
I wish I could say the same thing.
Dontrelle Willis with us now on Long Toss. I got a couple for you, D-Train.
Sure.
The hat. When did you start to put it to the side a little bit?
I get asked that probably once a day. There's two things I get asked. Can you still do the leg kick? And that. And to me, it always felt straight. You know what I mean? Lefties are weird. Jeff will tell you, lefties are a little messed up with their thought process and their, it always felt straight. And then all of a sudden, it just took a life of itself. And when I felt like it was straight on my head, it felt crooked to me. So when I turned it to the left, it felt normal. And so, but if you know me personally, it's like, Dontrelle's a mess. So, you know what I mean? He's a good dude, but he's a mess. So just leave him alone. So, yeah, that hat took a personality of his own. But it's cool to see it. It's cool to see it again.
The 2003 run. You beat the Yankees, you beat the Cubs, you beat the Giants. What one of those, I guess, teams you thought when we beat them, all right, we're a team of destiny? Or was it, the World Series?
Man, that whole run, and not even anything to do with me, but that whole playoff run was like movie-esque. Like, you're going up against rosters and teams that are historic. The Giants, the Cubs. Working with Mark Pryor, he tells that series a lot better about on that side of it. Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood, that year, you didn't want to see those guys. They were prime, they were weapons. And to be able to beat those teams, it was a fun run, man. And really, you saw the reemerging of Josh Beckett and guys like that, where it's like these guys are weapons. And this earning the respect of not only, really Miami, but like the baseball community of like, hey, these Marlins are for real. And so we go into Yankee Stadium, and it's like the game's at 7:05. I don't know what time. And Juan gets on, Luis hits a blooper, and then Pudge sack fly. By 7:05, we're up 1-0. And so, like, these Yankees fans are like, this might be a little fight. Like, they know how.
They kind of looked at you guys as a little engine that could, thing.
Yeah.
Oh wow, they're for real.
Yeah,
no, we didn't.
It was
because they weren't supposed to beat anyone. They weren't supposed to beat the Giants. They weren't supposed to beat the Cubs. There was no way they were going to beat us.
Right.
And the next thing you know, you guys had a great team.
Yeah.
And I think everybody underestimated how great you were.
You know, it's crazy. I tell everybody the story and I work for Fox now. When we beat the Cubs, the Fox gave us Fox pullovers that were blue and red. So they were already hoping that the Cubs would either play the Red Sox or the Yankees.
Is that right?
And now I'm on TV. I understand why they pushed that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we kind of looked at each other and we threw all the pullovers in the shower and stuff. So we kind of galvanized together to try to be world beaters and shock the world. And so we did that. It was a fun run. It was really, really a fun run.
What did you guys do in New York when you won it that night? What can you share with us that on air? What kind of trouble did you guys get into in the big city?
No trouble.
No trouble?
No trouble. It was just like.
Did you guys leave right after the game, or did you stay?
No, we stayed. It's a city that never sleeps, but they took a nap. They could not believe that Joe. I remember running on the field, and it was all this commotion, and I remember this, the great Joe Torre, a legend in the game. He just sat there. And kind of took that in, and if you're a fan of sport, and I work with Derek Jeter now, who has a ton of rings, he's like, y'all beat us fair and square.
Yeah.
Y'all beat us fair and square, and it's could one play happen that could change it? Absolutely, but I mean, when you get beat up fair and square in New York, you know what I mean, and that start that Josh Beckett has is still historic.
Right.
It was fun to watch, and so everything kind of fell into place, and so I think that's why us as teammates, still to this day, we're still all very close.
How blessed were you to be able to play for a bunch of these great managers? Do you have any good Jack McKeon or Jim Leyland stories?
Oh, man.
Well, what was that? Hold on, time out. What was that? You had Torberg, and all of a sudden it switched over right in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And that was a huge turnaround.
It wasn't in the middle of the season. I had my start against the Rockies. The next day, he was fired. So I come to the stadium, and there's all these cameras. I'm like, what's going on here?
Look what you did.
I haven't even got my meal money yet, Jeff. You know what I mean? Like, this is all going on here. And so, again, it's like, and then Trader Jack comes in with the big old cigar.
Yeah.
All right, Big D, you know what I mean? But he knows baseball. He knows hard work. I remember one time I had a bad start against the Cubs in the playoffs, and I was just so heartbroken. And I don't know if you've been on the mound, Jeff, where it's like everything just went wrong. And I missed his hand to give him the ball. Oh. And that was he grabbed, that man grabbed my arm, and he saw the tears in my eyes. I felt like my dad was about to give me a backside whoop. You know what I mean? And he knew. I was like, I didn't mean to do that, sir. I gave him a grand slam, you know what I mean? And he said, don't you ever. And that was, that moment. I needed that, though. You know what I mean? But I wasn't trying to disrespect him. But, Trader Jack, man, he was fun. He was fun. He knew the game. I mean, he managed 5% of the league all time. You know what I mean? He managed everybody.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
So he preached hard work and dedication. And he was the kind of the one that instilled in our locker room that we can be world beaters if we believe in our system and believe in each other.
Dontrelle, I have one more for you, and I just brought this up because I know I've talked about this with Nelly before. He's won 4 World Series, and you guys pitched in the highest of leverage situations. Mm-hmm. You pitched in Game 1, 3, and 5 of the 03 World Series. First game is in New York. Mm-hmm. Can you explain, and I've always thought the professional athletes just tick differently, but how did you calm yourself down getting ready to pitch at that age in the World Series? What did you do?
Okay, you have to give me some time here. So let me get some contents here.
Okay.
So we're on the plane going to New York. I'm pitching. I'm in bullpen jail. So I'm thinking I'm not factoring here. I'm just trying to ride this thing out. You know what I mean? So Jack never gets up on the plane.
Yeah.
So Jack gets up on the plane. So we're all in the aisle kind of looking down. So he comes right up to me. He's like, all right, Big D, we need you. We don't win it without you. I'm like, I got an 8 in the playoffs. Like, you gonna use me? So I'm just taking it all in. He's like, we're gonna have you against Giambi in a tight situation, and we're gonna switch Posada to the other side. We trust that you can win the matchup. So I'm just listening, like, yeah. I'm in bullpen jail. The game's really tight, contested in the first game. All of a sudden, the phone rings and your heart stops because you're waiting to hear the name. And so he says, Willis, and I say, what? Like, that was my response. Like, what? Spit out all the sunflower seeds. None of my shoes are tied because I don't think I'm going to factor in the game. You know what I mean? I'm a fan at this point. I go in the bullpen and throw 8 straight balls, like bouncing fastballs, doing it like it's just like. And all of a sudden, Jack comes out and says this.
Oh God, things are going well, huh?
And so I have cleats and it's all cobblestone. So all I'm thinking, Jeff, is don't break your neck with 80 million people watching. I'm not thinking nothing about the game. So I walk up to the mound. And the crowd's getting into it. The New York crowd's getting into it. It's like, oh, this is when they break.
57,000.
This is when they break.
Yeah.
This is when they break right here. And Jack looks at me, gives me the ball. Jason Giambi, who's a hero of mine. I'm an Oakland guy.
Yeah.
He's like, well, D, go get him.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? It was like, and I tell everybody that story, and I was like, I need to remember the Titan type speech right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trusting my ability right now. And I go out there, and it was the hardest I threw all year, naturally. It was the hardest. Like, the ball was just coming out and Pudge was like, calm. I'm like, I'm throwing 95, 96. I didn't throw like all year.
Yeah, when it crossed the plate, not like when it's measured out the hand.
Yeah. I know that's another thing. We can have a beer on that. But yeah. But again, you know, and going through the lineup and helping the bridge to Urbina. And so I was throwing hard. And they never saw me before, so I think that kind of helped that. You know what I mean? Like, they never saw it. But Jeter, till this day, he does not forgive that I posted that strikeout on Instagram where I tied him up 3-2. And I jammed Soriano, and they're like, you know, the fans are getting tighter because they're running out of outs. You know what I mean? And so my job was to get to Urbina, and I was able to do that. I think I got like 7 outs in game 1. Didn't sleep a wink after the game. Didn't sleep a wink. I was actually me and my agent were up till like 4 a.m. The Daily News was outside. I went and got it, and they had like starfish on the back of it, of me throwing and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool.
You still have a copy of it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Got me a little bagel and egg and bagel sandwich and stuff like that. But you know, being able to get it done in those moments like Jeff has done, you know, it really helped boost my confidence, especially at the biggest stage.
This is everything I ever expected with this. Dontrelle, thank you for stopping
thank you guys for
very
having me.
much.
Thank
Good to see you, D-Train.
Thank you.
Jersey still looks great on you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.